What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Mayhem. It's your boy Chris coming at you on this wonderful Friday the 13th. Hope you guys are doing well. Super excited to be here with you. Of course, I do want to thank our new subscribers and followers that are new to the gang and new to the club here. Thank you so much for tuning in. To our OGs that have been subscribed or following, depending on whatever platform you're on there. If you've been here for a while, I want to appreciate you. And for those of you that are returning viewers that are not yet subscribed, which I think is about 80+% of you guys, you're still welcome here. I love you. I'm glad that you're here checking out the show. Do want to welcome you guys to today's show. Do want to mention real quick that as a reminder, and I'll remind you guys again at the end, I'm going to be taking the next 2 weeks off just to kind of regroup, recalibrate, and kind of get realigned to finish off strong for the rest of the year, especially going into election night. I want to make sure that we are moving strong as we get closer and closer to that, and make sure we fact check these guys like we did the other night. Speaking of the other night, I did participate in a live stream for the first, maybe only, but first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I was fortunate enough to join Robert Hur on his show, The Washcast. What was it? Not Monday night, Tuesday night was the debate. So I joined him Tuesday night. We also had Sean from Third Railify join us, as well as Chris from Chris's World. And then we had a couple other folks commenting in the chats, and we had somebody else jump in. So a lot of fun, a lot of good conversations. We did a pre-show. We did the live fact checking as they were doing the debate. And then we did a post-show kind of wrap up. All in all, we were streaming for about 5 hours. So that was my longest stream for sure. But we went through it and we were very, very thorough. And I think everybody on the team did a great job. So whether you've seen the debate or not, I will link what we did down in the show notes below. I do highly recommend checking it out, especially if you are looking to see some live fact checking. I saw where CNN, I think, said Trump did 33 lies and Kamala Harris only told one. That itself is a lie. You can go watch our live stream and hear us in real time fact checking what Kamala Harris said. We also fact checked Donald Trump too, to be fair, because we did try very, very hard to be as fair and balanced and unbiased as we could be, even though pretty much everybody on there is voting for Trump. Again, transparency. I know you're not used to that, especially in mainstream media, but we do that because we love you guys and we don't want to mislead you guys. So yeah, go check that out. I will leave the link in the show notes below. If you want to check that out, I'll leave that down there for you guys. And yeah, so again, going to take a couple of weeks off to kind of recalibrate. So going to kind of run through this. I'll be doing today's show, and then I will be on, most likely, unless he has someone else on, I will be co-hosting as usual Saturday night Off the Rails with Sean on Third Railify's channel. I will be with him tomorrow night, and that will be it for me for 2 weeks. I won't be on anyone else's show. I won't be doing this one. But until I come back, I will be doing reactions, reviews, all that good fun stuff. Going to go ahead and get a bunch of those knocked out and rolling out for the next 2 weeks. Just trying to get things pulled in kind of an alignment of where they need to be between the show here, my filmmaking stuff, making sure I've got plenty of family time, because as we get closer and closer to election day, this right here is going to eat up a lot of time, because as you guys know, if you've been watching, I don't like to come on here and just spout out stuff that I feel is one way or the other. I like to have my receipts. And as per usual, anything that I do go over in the show, I will have links to those in the show notes below. So any stats, data, diagrams, links, videos, whatever. If I use something, the links will be in the show notes below, so you guys can fact check me and hold me accountable. Again, transparency. I'm sure you're not used to with mainstream media, because one of the biggest things that they knocked, during COVID, is doing your own research. Like, you're just supposed to blindly believe them and follow along. That's what they want you to do. I want you to do your own research, figure things out on your own. And whether you listen to me or Sean over at Third Railify, Robert at The Washcaster, Spin Cycle, Chris at Chris's World, The Quartering, Stephen Crowd, or whoever, it doesn't matter. If you just blindly follow somebody, you are doing yourself a disjustice. So please go out there and do your own research and dig into these stories. You're going to find out that most of the mainstream media and people that you listen to have their own bias in there, their own takes in there, and may be a little misleading, whether intentional or not. That said, let's go ahead and get this show started, going into our very first misleading topic. So over at CNN Business, mortgage rates fall to lowest level since February of 2023. Now, that is not a lie. That's not a lie. We're going to look at this a little bit, and then I'm going to show you where there's the slight left out of context kind of stuff there that just, whatever, the disinformation, misinformation, disorientation that they do in these headlines, because most people just read the headlines, or they get the headlines, they read a little bit, and they move on. We're going to look at it, and it sounds great, which it is. Anytime the rates are coming down is good. But what does that really mean? How does it really compare to the mortgage rates in context of what they've been beyond February of 2023, right? So we're going to look at this a little bit. This is, again, CNN Business. Won't read the whole thing, but it says mortgage rates fell this week to the lowest point since February 2023, which wasn't that long ago, to be fair, and a welcome sign for Americans grappling with a tough housing market. The standard 30-year fixed mortgage averaged 6.2% in the week ending September 12th. Mortgage financing giant Freddie Mac said Thursday. That's down from last week's 6.35% and well below the two-decade high of 7.79% in October of 2023. Who was president in October 2023? Anyways, better question, who was vice president in October 23? You feel me? All right. Mortgage rates started to drop early last month on news affirming lower interest rates in the future, specifically after a weaker than expected job reports for July. Oh, a weaker than expected job reports. How many times have we done that? Anyways, and have gradually edged lower since. Mortgage rates have fallen more than 0.5% over the last 6 weeks and are at their lowest level since February 2023, Sam Cater, Freddie Mac's chief economist, said in a release. Rates continue to soften due to incoming economic data that is more sedate. But despite the improving mortgage rate environment, prospective buyers remain on the sidelines as they negotiate a combination of high house prices and persistent supply shortages. Economic data pointing to slower inflation and a weakening job market have paved the way for the Federal Reserve to roll out the first interest rate cut since 2020, slated for the central bank's upcoming policy meeting next week. So, again, nothing inherently wrong necessarily, right? Interest rate, mortgage rates are dropping. Cool. It is factual. I am going to prove what they say is factual. But I'm also going to give you a little bit more context that I think is more important, okay? Because as we see here, CNN, a known left-leaning, liberal, biased, mainstream news media source, right? Whatever labels you want to slap on there, those are a few. The headline is the rates are coming down as we get closer and closer to election day. Do you not think that they are serving a certain political party, a certain agenda, trying to make somebody else look good? Or are they just presenting the facts? My take on it is they're not dropping enough to write a freaking story about it. Now, is it great to know they're coming down? Sure. But this article didn't need to be written. There's a lot more articles that should have been written about things going on today. But it was written, I think, to give somebody a positive spin. Let's look at some context, if I may point out something here, folks. So here's a graph of the 30-year mortgage rates from 2022 to 2024. This was about the best one I could find, so forgive me. I'm not going all the way back to 2020, 2019, and beyond, which is what I really wanted. But this one basically tells the whole story, right? So we're looking from November 1st of 2022. You're sitting down here in this wonderful sweet spot. I don't even know what the percentage that is. And then here we are. That would be November of 2023, where it hit that 7 point, whatever it was, percent, that 2-decade high rate, right? So remember, from here to, I think now we're about 6.2 is what it said, 6.2, 6.4, somewhere in this ballpark. So we went from here to here. It's a drop. I'll celebrate any drop, but just keep in mind, a year before, or earlier in the year of 2023, it was lower than where we are now. Had a little bump right there, but prior to that in 2022, it was lower. 21, it was lower. 20, it was lower. Again, I know they're not on the graphs here, but yeah, it's just like the crime rates, the immigration, inflation. They will write these articles and say, it's coming down. Crime rates are lower. Inflation is lower. Immigration is lower. They're looking at like a small snippet of time, a month, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. They won't look at the bigger picture, especially comparing this administration to the last administration. And that was the point of this. Not so much about the mortgage rates coming down, which, hey, cool, way to go. If you're, buying a house, maybe it's the time to buy, maybe it's not. I don't know. I know I didn't get a great rate when I bought my house way back in the day. Well, maybe not way back in the day. I'm not that freaking old. But anyways, the point to it was not the mortgage rates dropping. The point of the story was to show you how deliberately and they try to be discreet about it, right? They wrap it up in a positive story. How these news media outlets are basically putting propaganda out there by twisted truths. Is that something we can use? I don't want to say misinformation, because they're not wrong, but they are taking the truth and twisting it and conforming it into something that looks better than it actually is, so that you will think things are improving as we get 60 days out, 50 days out, 40 days out of the election, because they are in favor of you reelecting whoever is currently in office. If I'm not mistaken, I thought the price of the pumps were a little lower a couple of days ago when I filled up. I'm sure it has nothing to do with getting closer and closer to election day. Not at all. Guys, have you seen stuff like this popping up? Have you seen, I'm going to call it again, I'm going to call it mainstream media propaganda. Political propaganda. I wouldn't go as far as election interference or go, super crazy. But again, it's almost like an advertisement or a political ad in a way for the person that's in office, kind of, sort of, right? By twisting reality in the article there. Here's the truth. But it's not the full truth, is it? It's not everything you should probably know. Anyways, what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next story we're going to get into, from bounding into comics. After UK judge denies Disney's attempt to dismiss lawsuit alleging Peter Cushing's likeness was used without permission in Rogue One, headed to trial. So, for you not familiar, this is a computer-generated image of Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing, is old school actor from way back in the day. He was in all kinds of horror films and stuff, like Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, all these guys. And he was in Star Wars. He was in the original Star Wars film. Did a great job in the original Star Wars film. So they did, and the Star Wars nerds that are watching this, you're like me, you already know all this. But for those that don't, that's fine too. Not everybody's into Star Wars like we are, and that's cool. I got a few Star Wars things back there. here, around here. Little Darth Vader guy. Right here. But anyways, back to business. So anyways, they came out with a movie called Rogue One, which, in my humble yet accurate opinion, is the best Star Wars movie that they have done since Disney bought the rights. You can argue with me. I don't think anything compares to Rogue One, and I don't think Rogue One was the greatest thing in the world, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really good story. But Rogue One comes right before the very first original Star Wars film, not the prequels, but the first OG film, New Hope. It does a really good job of telling a good story. They end it perfectly with the main characters because you never see them again. So the way they got rid of them, but the way they, moved the story along was fantastic. I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but I will kind of spoil it and say this. The final scene of Rogue One, oh my God. It is the most amazing Darth Vader scene ever. So if you are a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen Rogue One, what are you waiting for, man? Get out there and watch it. Check it out. The movie itself is great. The ending, awesome. If you have seen it, maybe you're excited to go watch it again now that you're thinking about it, because now I want to do that. But anyways, something I did not love, and I don't love it, and then they're still doing it. I don't love it in the new stuff either. Is taking the characters that we knew and loved, or in this case, we didn't necessarily love him. He was a villain. But they're taking these characters and regenerating them with modern technology to make it seem like they're there. And of course, it looks like a really high quality video game image to me. It doesn't look realistic enough to pass. But it looks pretty good, considering all things. But apparently, in this particular situation, they didn't have the rights to do this. And again, Peter Cushing comes from a long line of a long catalog of works. And as we're going to see in this article, he specifically said, I don't give people permissions to do this. Now, of course, he's long gone, but his estate or friend here spoke up on his behalf. So let's go ahead and dive in. And again, don't forget who this is we're dealing with. The House of Mouse, Disney, who continues to shoot themselves in the foot and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And, maybe they deserve it. While Disney faces their fair share of legal troubles, as I was just saying, in America, they now face an additional court battle across the pond in the form of a lawsuit alleging that the company did not have permission to use the likeness of late actor Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Can you see? I don't know if that translates great over the little screen and on YouTube or Rumble or wherever you're watching, but it just doesn't. I mean, it looks like a video game commercial. You know how the commercials for these video games will, they'll show a better quality of what's actually in the game, but it's similar. It looks like that, but it's in a feature film. So it's, and hats off for, the technology advancements that are going on and people using them. I think there's other ways that this could have been accomplished. But that's just me being, a fan of cinema, an internationally award-winning filmmaker, a Star Wars nerd, and all that good stuff. But, what does that matter in the end of the day, right? Moving on. Filed in 2023 by noted film producer and one of Cushing's oldest friends, like I was saying, Kevin Francis, through his own Tyburn Film Productions. The lawsuit claims that the late actor, as per a recap provided by UK news outlet The Times, agreed not to grant permissions for, I think this is a typo, for anyone to reproduce his appearance through special effects without his authorization. According to Francis's legal team, Cushing signed said agreement in 1993. Ahead of his filming of the ultimately uncompleted TV film, A Heritage of Horror. See, that's him. That's legit him. Again, the computer-generated image doesn't look super off of that, but it just isn't the same. it's just not the same. And of course, we got Darth Vader in the back, which was not played by James Earl Jones, but was voiced by James Earl Jones, who did just recently pass this week. So RIP to the GOAT, James Earl Jones, while we're at it. That's the end of the aforementioned Star Wars film. 22 years after Cushing passed away from cancer, the House of Mouse made heavy use of special effects technology to digitally revive the actor and have him reprise his iconic role as Imperial Officer Grand Moff Tarkin. For a brief cameo, of course, the quality of their end result remains a matter of fan debate. Just saying. In their initial response to Francis' lawsuit, Disney claimed that due to both the terms of his original New Hope contract and their assumption that the nature of the special effects used did not technically violate Cushing's request, they originally believed they did not need to receive any sort of special permissions to have him appear in Rogue One. Now, I've not read this full article to know that I wanted to go through it, but I do believe I have heard there was not really a New Hope contract in so many ways. I don't know. I don't know. There's a great shot from Rogue One. Go watch it. It's so good. Even non-Star Wars fans, I think, would enjoy the story arc and the character development in there. I think they did a really good job. Further, the company asserts that after learning of the late actor's stipulation, they agreed to pay his estate roughly £28,000. Is that pounds? I think it's pounds. To make sure everything was above the books. Not only that, but they also defended their use of his likeness on the grounds that they were a bona fide purchaser for value of the rights of Cushing's image. However, last December, Master Francesca Kay rejected Disney arguments, in doing so ordering that the case be sent to trial. And though the company attempted to appeal this ruling on September 9th, Judge Tom Mitchison officially stood by his colleague's ruling, knowing that he was admittedly far from persuaded that Francis' efforts would end in victory. Judge Mitchison also declared that he was not persuaded that the case is unarguable to the standard required to give summary judgment or to strike it out. In an area developing law, it is very difficult to decide where the boundaries might lie in the absence of a full factual inquiry. So, yeah, I think this is it. As of writing, Disney and Francis' court case is yet to receive an official trial date. So, yeah, a couple things with this one, really. So what do you guys think when it comes to, an actor dying? I'll say like an actor dying before finishing a film, or if they try to shoot a prequel and try to capture that actor and they've already passed. I know, like with The Irishman, they used the actual actors, be it Pacino, Pesci, De Niro, and they de-aged them. A lot of films have done that. I think they went a little extreme because Pacino, Pesci, and De Niro are not young at all, by any stretch of the means. So they had to really work on that de-aging, I'm sure. But that being said, does that take away from the film for you? Do you think that that's something they should or shouldn't do? Again, I am a fan of the real stuff, the costumes, the makeup, capturing everything as it is instead of doing a lot of stuff in post. Now, that's not to say I don't appreciate the stuff that can be done in post, or there couldn't be accompanying stuff in there. But I'd rather capture it in camera if at all possible. And again, I've never worked on a super huge budget film like any of the Star Wars films or for any big studio or anything like that. But again, I just know that there's nothing quite like capturing practical effects in whatever way that is. So for me, I would have rather seen the look-alike play the character, or, the face modeled after them and somebody else wearing them or something. I don't know what they would have been looking at as far as any lawsuits with that. But yeah, digitally recreating him, I can see where that would open him up for some mess, especially if there was a specific clause out there or document where he says, I don't want that done. So, Disney thinks they're a little big for their pants, which kind of takes me to my other one. Not only, how do you feel about this in films, but also what do you think about Disney? It seems like Disney thinks they're a lot bigger than they actually are. And when you look at the films and the shows and the streaming service and everything they've been putting out over the last several years, I know they're trying to be woke, and I know they're trying to get all these, DEI scores and be big time social justice warriors and everything, but they're not making money. Very, very seldom are they making a profit. I don't know what the theme parks are doing, but I know a lot of the films that should have been huge hits have not been. No, Disney Plus has not been performing like they had anticipated it to do. I know Deadpool and Wolverine are out there killing it right now, and that's one of the few things that are really hitting. So I think Inside Out 2 was them as well, and it did really good. So I know they've got some stuff that's doing good. I got a lot that's not. Ooh, they wasting a lot of money. So yeah, is Disney backed in a corner? Or are they starting to finally maybe realize that they're not the big dog that they used to be? We'll see. Next story we're going to get into real quick. I'm calling this Oceans 24 because that's what they call it. Just saying. Over here from Fox News, Russia, China hold biggest war games since Soviet era. Yep. That'll make the hair on your neck stand up. I don't know what does necessarily, but that's not exciting for me. Russia, China holding biggest war games since Soviet era. State Department warns China giving Russia substantial aid for War Machine by Caitlin McFall. Who's Caitlin McFall? That's Caitlin McFall. Just thought I'd share that. Woo! Anyways, back to the story. It says Russia and China this week engaged in the largest military drills in some 30 years after they launched joint naval and air exercises spanning both hemispheres on Tuesday, a report from Reuters confirmed. The Russian Defense Ministry said the week-long war games will include 90,000 troops, 400 warships, submarines, and support vessels, along with 120 planes and helicopters spread across Pacific and Arctic oceans and the Mediterranean, Caspian, and Baltic seas. The exercise is dubbed Ocean 24. Don't worry if you haven't seen anything past Oceans 11 or was it 12, 13 or something like that. You can get caught up later on. But this is Ocean 24. The exercises dubbed Ocean 24 coincided with meetings in Brussels between the U.S. and European Union in which the issue of security in the Indo-Pacific, as well as China's support for Russia amid the war in Ukraine, were addressed. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the other. Yeah, that doesn't look like anything major right there. The U.S. accused Beijing of crossing a line and providing very substantial support to Russia after more than 2.5 years of war and sanctions that are said to have begun taking a toll on its military stockpiles. These are not dual-use capabilities, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell told reporters, according to the Politico EU, in reference to the latest material supplies China provided Russia. These are basically being applied directly to the Russian war machine. These are competent pieces of a very substantial effort on the part of China to help sustain, build, and diversify various elements of the Russian war machine, he added. We're seeing efforts at the highest levels of both governments to try to both hide and protect certain elements of this worrisome collaboration. Most of these activities have been driven underground, Campbell warned. The statement by the State Department following the U.S.-EU meeting accused China of helping Russia to evade sanctions and called on Beijing to act in support of international law, including in its attempts to push through any peace proposals. Can I just say that every time I see Vladimir Putin meeting anyone, he always looks like he is suspicious of them. Maybe it's that KGB in him. Maybe it's just a Russian thing. I don't know. But he always looks at him like, I don't know about this guy over here. He looks like he will take my vodka. I don't know. He just always looks suspicious, like he's trying to figure this person out. Maybe that's the leader thing. I don't know. Maybe Trump did that too. Biden doesn't know how to do any of that. He just looks confused or asleep. But we'll get into Biden here in just a minute, by the way. But yeah, Vladimir Putin always kind of, I don't know about this man. And then Xi Jinping over here, he always looks like he's like at the wrong place and he smells something. Like he's from a hoity-toity kind of country club. And then here he is and on the east side, and he these people are below him, and the town just kind of smells like poop everywhere, right? Like if you go out to, certain parts of California, apparently, they're like, ooh, it stinks over here. Something don't smell right. I'm sorry. God. That's racist! I know, but it's probably how it goes. Anyways, I just thought I'd point that out right there. Back to the story. China has repeatedly denied its involvement in Russia's illegal war in Ukraine and has pushed for a peace deal to end the conflict. But a six-part peace proposal put forward by China and Brazil in May was unequivocally rejected by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who told Brazilian news outlet Metropolis on Thursday that the plan lacked respect for Ukraine's territorial integrity. You either support the war or you don't support the war. If you don't support it, then help us stop Russia, he said, according to a report by the Kiev Independent. Just give up our land, forget they are killing our people? What is the compromise in that, he questioned. That's why I think it's destructive. It's just a political statement. And it goes on and on talking about all that crap. Looky here. On this show, you're not really going to hear me take a side of Ukraine versus Russia. I'll say maybe not even Israel and the Palestinians, Gaza, whatever. Even though it wasn't Israel that went in guns a-blazing and doing, pillaging and raping and doing all that stuff. I'm just saying, if you ever look at a map, like all the countries around there are Arab, Palestinian countries, and that little bitty sliver of Israel is the only one that's not. But for some reason, they all want to go after that little strip of land in the whole grand mass of things. I may pull that up on the screen. If I can find it, I'll throw it up on the screen in the edit, because it's really eye-opening to see it in that perspective. Anyways, forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah. So I may not say one way or another which I lean or what I prefer or anything like that. Trump is very similar to that too. He just wants the killing to stop, and I do too. I think that's the big thing. I will say this: I think Russia is one of our biggest enemies of all time, right? But I also think Ukraine seems to be a pretty terrible country too. Legit Nazis in that country, from my understanding. And I do know, in looking at other stories, it has basically been a money laundering place for the longest for politicians. Okay, for a lot of the politicians we have, okay, you already know about Biden. There's like Nancy Pelosi's family, other people that are in the mix as well. But it is a terrible, terrible place as far as, being corrupt. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I know about that. I'm not going to dive into that story. The story, again, is about China and Russia buddying up, doing these war games. We've got so much going on right now already in the world. Then we got this on top of it. It's almost like we don't even have a president. Or if we do, what is he doing? Do we have a vice president doing anything? What do you guys think? Do you think this would be happening under Trump or under somebody more competent than who we have now? Oddly enough, that's going to take me into our next story and our final story. So, from the New York Post, half-retired Biden, pretty much, right, Half-retired Biden making allied leaders trek to Delaware for annual summit. So he's on such a great vacation, he can't even be bothered to leave. So he's meeting with these other leaders and like, hey, come on to Delaware. I'm already here. Come on, I'll show you the beach. It'll be great. So retiring President Biden will require the leaders of Australia, India, and Japan to schlep to Delaware for the annual four-nation Quad Summit next week, as the 81-year-old spends yet another weekend at home in Wilmington. What was it, 40%? I could be off on that. I need Robert. Robert threw that out there when we were watching the debate, but I think it was 40% of his presidency he's been on vacation or something like that. Insane. Absolutely insane. Private security, $400,000 a year, plus any extra stuff he might be getting. And all kinds of benefits, man. 40% of his time on vacation. But you know what? That's okay. Democrats don't have a problem with that. They only have a problem if Trump is out there on the golf course maybe once a week or once every other week or something like that. Because that was just awful. Whatever. It says the summit will be held September 21st near Biden's weekend White House in America's 470th most populous city, a relative desert of cultural and culinary attractions 120 miles northeast of the nation's capital. I'm not going to lie, at first glance, I couldn't tell if this was Biden or if this was maybe Biden. Maybe that's like a Secret Service agent in disguise, because they want to make sure he knows which way to go and what car to get in and all that stuff. I know you're thinking, Chris, that's obviously a mannequin. No, nothing is obvious when it comes to the president, number one, and especially when it comes to Biden. Biden picked his hometown as a meeting site to show how deep his bonds are with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida of Japan. Sure, I said that wrong. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and Australia. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Y'all, I'm not good at all this stuff. I'm just some redneck from Georgia. I'm doing my best, okay? The White House insisted in a statement. So they insist that the reason for this is to show his deep bonds to all these people, right? Hey, come to my hometown. Has nothing to do with him being too lazy or lacking the ability maybe to travel. I don't know. Biden already has visited Wilmington 21 times this year, spending his time lunching at a nearby golf course, shopping at a Jose Bank retail store, and attending church, and is expected to habitually return on weekends for the remainder of his presidency, which ends January 20th. Boy, that can't get here fast enough. I think that's it. Is that it? Boom. No, I was thinking it went on. Okay. President Joseph R. Biden Jr. will host a fourth in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Wilmington, Delaware on Saturday, September 21st, the White House said. Remember, there's the Corvette and there's the, top secret classified documents and cardboard boxes that he's just a meaningful old man that didn't realize what he was doing. But those came from when he was in the Senate and he had no authorization to take them. But you know what? Forget about that. Orange man bad. Remember that. Orange man bad. This will be President's first time hosting foreign leaders in Wilmington as president, a reflection of his deep personal relationship with each of the Quad leaders and the importance of the Quad to all of our countries. The summit follows prior annual meetups at the White House in Tokyo and Hiroshima, Japan. Hiroshima. I know different people say it different ways. I don't know if there's a right way and a wrong way. So, suck it. The next Quad gathering in 2025 will be hosted by India with a new president representing the U.S. Dear God, let it be Trump. The White House said that the leaders, united by a desire to contain China's influence, will focus on bolstering the strategic convergence among our countries, advancing our shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific region, and delivering concrete benefits for partners in the Indo-Pacific and key areas. That sounds well and good. Sounds far above the capabilities of one Joseph Biden to have that conversation, though. Hey, man, where's the ice cream at? Sorry, ADD kicking in. I've been hanging out with Sean too much. The areas of discussion will include health, security, natural disaster response, maritime security, high quality infrastructure, critical and emerging technologies, climate, clean energy, and cybersecurity, according to the statement. Biden ended his campaign for a second term on July 21st. Yada, yada, yada. We know, and we know who's there with. This is a great picture because we're actually going to get into this in a second. Don't forget who we are talking about. We're talking about Joseph R. Biden. This dude right here, unless this is one of the clones. I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm just saying. All right. Over here on X, let's go and look at that same thing. If you look down here at the bottom right, well, let me just click on that maybe. Yeah, there we go. You'll notice something very interesting here. Here's that same image, right? But we've got the back of Biden's head. So there's Bloomberg down there. There's Trump, Vance, Trump Jr., another Trump, Trump, you know, all that good stuff. Biden's turned around. Now, I know he has a tendency to do this, but I wonder what's going on here. Well, first of all, let me place this. Okay, let me scroll back up. Let me tell you where this is, what's going on. This is Joe Biden, Kamala leaving the 9/11 memorial after a short stay after socializing with the attorney general that tried to take Trump's properties and fine him an outrageous amount. That's a post from JV the Great over on X. May need to give, you know what? Boom. Why not? But yeah, so there's the picture that was snapped. Well, where's Biden at? Let's do this. They're still talking. There's Kamala. All right, there's Biden, Kamala. And someone's talking about their uncle firefighter who most likely perished in 9/11. And they're out of there. Biden and Kamala are out of there. Neither of them are sticking around. And of course, again, who did stick around? There they are leaving. You still got Bloomberg there. You got Trump, Vance. Everybody else looks like they're staying. They're heading on out because probably got to get back to the beach or get to the ice cream shop. I don't know. But this is interesting too. So here is, actually, let me go up to the original post here to show you where I'm going with this. And I'll go to another video that has better audio on this one. So this is what they were responding to. It says, this isn't Trump after a debate or one of his rallies. It's him at the 9/11 memorial. Wink, you get female photographers. He's weird and gross. No, that's you, baby girl. That's you. Black Lives Matter, pronouns in the bio. I don't care if anybody's gay. You guys know that. I've got a pretty decent gay conservative following, and I love every one of y'all. Got no problem with you guys. It's the cult. It's the cult that is that LGBTQ movement that's kind of taken over that I do have an issue with. Oh, and she's a comedian, Dana Goldberg. I think I know that name. Yeah. Not as a comedian, though, because, I mean, clearly not funny. Not that women can't be funny. They just usually aren't. But anyways, here's what she posted, saying that here he is being weird, winking and smiling and stuff. And this is a 9/11 memorial. Don't forget, we just saw Biden and Harris walk out while somebody's talking about their firefighter. What was it? Uncle, father? Forget. Somebody was talking about someone who probably perished during 9/11. And Biden and Harris are just dipping up out of there like, we made our appearance. We're out of here. It's almost like looking at your watch during, the bodies of servicemen who died under your watch being returned. But, that's neither here nor there, right? So let's take a look at this. Let's see what's going on.
Also exchanged words too from here in New York. Both Donald Trump, Joe Biden.
Something doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like the original audio. It sounds like somebody's talking over it or something.
Also exchanged words too.
Thank you. Little smile, little wink. And we're just seeing him and Vance and some dudes in the background. All right. So that's what they're posting. This person reacted and said, well, these people are just walking out. All right. Well, we're going to look at this one, but I think I found better audio for it because I want to say I played this earlier. Audio was not good because the audio is what matters here. Not only that, but the wide shot is what matters. So this is directly from C-SPAN. Okay, I'm going to go, can't go full screen. I just want to go, pop it back up. Boom, boom. Yeah, baby. Can I go again? Ooh, That's good right there. That's good right there. All right. So watch and listen. And if it's not loud enough, I will boost the audio in post because I want to make sure you guys hear what's going on. All right, so far, you got Chuck Schumer looking like Satan's left nut. And then you got Kamala and Trump meeting again. Trump smiling. Biden's over here smiling. Nobody else really smiling right in, any kind of way over here. But you can hear them. Hopefully you can hear them. You can hear them shouting for Donald. Donald! Donald! It continues. Listen. All right, hold on now. Now she's laughing. He's smiling. He's grinning with that nutsack grin. And there's Trump. Here's Trump saying thank you. He's just mouthing it, winking and stuff like that, because he realizes he's at a somber place. This is a somber moment here. A respectful event is happening. But he wants to address these people that are shouting. And they're not just shouting because, oh, it's a celebrity, Donald Trump, former president. They are begging him, please win this election. I think they even say, we need you. We'll keep listening, but I want to show you what a wide shot matters because remember, we just got this earlier. Right? But now look at here. Oh. Try me. I bring receipts. Y'all got that clickbaity stuff. I forget what they called it. Fake. What was it? Not fake. I don't remember what they called it. God, it'll come to me in a minute. Anyways, I'll keep playing this. Cheap fakes. That's what they called it. Where they zoom in on something, don't show the whole picture. When Biden was turning around and looking at the parasailer, parachute guy that dropped down or whatever, and everybody else said, oh, that's a cheap fake. He was doing something else. That was a cheap fake. Screw you. Dana Goldberg. You're so full of it, Dana Goldberg. Or whoever posted this original clip and you shared it. Y'all stupid with these cheap fakes. Here's the real deal. They are screaming and shouting for Donald Trump. He can't just sit there and not respond. Plus, look at this cackling hyena right here. And again, Satan's left nutsack. Because he's got two, I'm sure. And of course, he looks lost. Biden looks lost. We need you, President Trump. We need you. I don't hear nobody shouting for Kamala. Nobody being admirable toward Biden. Is he winking toward the reporters or is he acknowledging the people screaming his name? President Trump, we love you. Did you hear that? And don't forget, too, these are his people. He's a New Yorker, right? Now, he's down in Mar-a-Lago in Florida and everything, but he's a New Yorker. He built, so much New York. He's Mr. Trump Tower guy. Bloomberg and him were probably buddies back in the day. New York loved Trump until all of a sudden the media told him he was racist and stuff out of nowhere. Without evidence that they say anytime he makes a claim, oh, he said this without evidence. And all of a sudden now, even though there's evidence that he's not racist, they'll say that he is without providing evidence, which is always curious to me. Rules for me, not for thee, whatever, thee, not for me. That's the game they play. But that's the wider video. That's the audio. So you, with your own lying eyes, what do you see? Do you see him flirting with videographers over there and journalists? Hey, baby, how you doing? Huh? Hey, how you doing? Yeah. Is that what's going on here? Or Or is he acknowledging these people shouting and screaming while he is still trying to be respectful at the situation that he is? He's not up there like, hey, y'all, like Kamala is. Hey, everybody. Why ain't nobody saying my name? What's going on here? And then Biden just, again, looks like a lost puppy dog. If it were me being asked that question, I would say he's acknowledging the people that are shouting and acknowledging him. And he's trying to appease them while also maintaining his composure. That is what I see in there. What do you see in there? I'll wrap up with this other one. This is from my boy Dom Lucre. Again, if I'm saying the last name wrong, I apologize, Dom. But I'm going to link to him down in the show notes below, both to his X and to his YouTube channel. I have been loving hanging out in his chats on his live stream. He's starting to do some more live streams here and there. He's got he's got a huge X presence over, what's he got? He's got over, almost 1.5 million followers. I mean, huge, right? But he's just recently, over the short period of time, been trying to build his YouTube presence and doing videos over there. He does a great job, but he was live streaming the DNC, and that's where I really found him, and that's where I found a lot of his subscribers and followers and whatnot in the chat. Boy, I've made some good friends in there. We've gone back and forth. I've really been enjoying it. So highly recommend you guys follow Dom, both on X, and check out his YouTube. And if it's for you, it's for you. Awesome. If not, that's okay too. That's okay too. But I dig them, and I do recommend them. And I know I don't do that a lot on the show. But if there's someone that I really like, I definitely want to call them out. So you guys already know I'm a big fan of Robert Hurd, the Wash Cash and Spin Cycle, Sean of Third Railify, Chris of Chris's World. And I've mentioned others before, the guys over at the Talking Nerds, of course, nothing but love for them. But, anytime I find somebody that I want to make sure that you are aware of, I'm going to share that. But Dom is definitely one of them. Right here shows breaking footage has released showing President Biden and Kamala Harris being met with silence when they enter a room full of firefighters. Donald Trump walked in behind them and was met with a standing ovation. So this is just kind of a little bit of carryover from that previous video. Nobody was shouting for Kamala. Nobody was shouting for Biden. They were shouting for Trump. Trump, we need you. Trump, save us. Trump, we love you. Right? And not to be racist, but some of the voices did kind of sound like black women. I'm just saying, maybe that's a racist thing for me to say, but again, I don't, suck it. I don't know. I don't care. It is what it is. All right, here we go. Here is Biden and Kamala entering in a firehouse. Nothing. Here comes Trump. This might be the same place where that one guy, and that may have been the guy where Biden put on the Trump hat or whatever. You guys seen that, right? That's pretty funny. I'm not looking into that as anything, meaning anything more than Biden being playful, because, he probably has the mind of a child, especially the fact he loves children so much. But I want to close with that. Is all the stories that we covered today pretty much tie into each other, from the media putting out a different narrative than the actual reality. At the beginning, I was talking about mortgage rates dropping, but they're only dropping from their all-time high. We're still nowhere near where we were, just a few years ago. So it's manipulative in how they present these things. It's manipulative how they present this. Oh, here's a tight shot of Trump smiling and winking at the 9/11 memorial. Oh, well, can we cut to a wide? Do we maybe have a shot that has some good audio in it? Oh, everyone's doing that. Number one. Number two, they are screaming and shouting for Trump like they're in a burning building to come and save them. What is he supposed to not acknowledge them? Completely ignore? Y'all have lost your mind. You don't know what it's like out there. As Kamala says, in these streets. And then you see what happens when he walks in the firehouse. Again, the way the news presents it, they are even 49% in so many polls. She smoked him in the debate the other night, which, to be fair, it wasn't his best performance. And I get it. I also do believe it was 3-on-1, which is a little unfair, but that's neither here nor there. You can go watch our live stream. Again, I will leave that linked in the show notes below. You can go check that out. We did a fantastic job that night. I'm super proud of what we did. I'm not going to, do it again. So go check that out. But they're going to tell you, hey, Kamala's killing Trump. Trump is so far behind. All our polls show that they are in favor of Kamala. Don't believe your lying eyes is what they tell you. I drive up and down these streets. I meet people all the time. I've got friends. Again, as a filmmaker, I have a lot of liberal friends. Some of them are actually going to be voting for Trump this time. They've made it very, very clear. Some of them aren't. Some of them are going to be Harris-Walz voters, not because of Harris and Walz, but because they're not Trump, which, again, that's fine. You can do that. You vote for the lesser of two evils. That's the way you want to do it. That's the way a lot of people do it. That's fine. It's okay. But again, they're not necessarily voting for Harris-Walz because they believe in Harris-Walz. They just don't want Trump Vance, or they just don't want Trump in general, right? And I get that. I remember, seeing the ballot and being like that myself a few times in the past. But there's not a lot of positivity behind these candidates. And that's really what I think. If the election wasn't manipulated in 2020 in any way and Biden legitimately won, that's why he won. Because more people were voting against Trump than for Biden. You follow me? They weren't necessarily voting for Biden. They were voting for whoever was going to run and beat Trump, which is what you're going to get a lot of here again with Harris-Walz. They're not necessarily voting for these two jackasses. They are just voting against Trump. You're going to see that. So legitimately, they do have some support in that regard. But overwhelmingly, if you look anywhere, again, as I drive down these streets and I meet these people, I've seen one Harris-Walz sign anywhere around me. I've seen multiple Trump yard signs. Now, I see a lot of folks that don't have signs in their yard, and that's perfectly fine. I don't have one in mine, but it's pretty obvious who's getting the most support in my area, in my circles, and you're seeing it here. But if you listen to mainstream media, they're going to paint a different picture altogether. That's why I say all the time, don't listen to the mainstream media. Sure, they'll give you some ideas, some stories that are going on. Then go do your research or come to places like, again, I'm not the best at this, but I'm going to give you my best. Okay. That's again why I'm going to be taking a short break, just so I can recalibrate and make sure I'm on my A game as we get closer and closer to election. This will be my first time doing this in an election year, going into an election. I want to make sure I give you my absolute best, and I will call Trump out just as fast as I call Harris out. I did that on debate night, and I'll do it again because I'm trying my best to be unbiased as much as possible, to be fair. All that said, don't listen to mainstream media. Find your sources that you do like. Listen to right-leaning media. Listen to left-leaning media. Listen to your independent media like me, like Crowder, Third Railify, Robert Herr on Washcast, Spin Cycle, wherever. Find these guys. Seek these guys out. Timcast, The Quartering, Salty Cracker, whoever. I could go on Liberal Hive Mind, Don't Walk Run Productions, all these guys I mention all the time that I'm a huge fan of. Find you some sources like that, listen to them cover the same thing, and see if you don't start seeing a trend on how things are leaning and how stories are being told in the mainstream media versus by people that actually have receipts. I'm going to show you the receipts. I'm going to link the receipts down below so you can go check them out for yourself. They don't want that for you. They, mainstream media, the elites, our politicians for the most part, on either side, for a lot of them, They want you in the dark so they can control you, so they can maintain that power over you. I won't go into a deep dive in that. Lord knows I can go into a deep dive with that. I'll be sounding like Alex Jones before it's all over with. But that's it. That's all I've got on this, guys. Don't trust mainstream media. Do a little research yourself. It does take a little time, but you will be significantly more informed than being programmed and brainwashed by those idiots out there. As a reminder, guys, I mentioned it a couple times. I just do want to say again, I will more than likely be on Saturday night Off the Rails with Sean on Third Railify tomorrow night. If everything goes according to our normal plans, I will be on there tomorrow night. But after that, I will not be on any show, mine, anyone else's, nothing, for 2 weeks. I'm going to take 2 weeks off of all of this to try to get some of my film work done that I've been postponing. Just try to get caught up here a little bit with some stuff and get prepared for, again, as we get closer and closer to the election. So we are getting, closer. I want to make sure I bring my A game because you guys deserve it. And you guys have stuck with me, and I appreciate that. And if you've watched up to this point, just throwing it out there, if you've liked the show, consider liking, subscribing, maybe leaving a comment, sharing something. Interact with me. Let me know. If you didn't like it, leave me a thumbs down. Let me know you didn't like the show. And if you didn't like the show, I would love to know in the comments what I can do differently. I appreciate constructive criticism, but that's up to you. I just appreciate you watching. But listen, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. Okay. It'll be October 4th. I will be back for the Friday show, October 4th. I will hopefully be on Sean's show, Third Railify, on October 5th, which is the following night, that Saturday night. And then following it back up with our second live stream from us right here. That's Monday Night Mayhem. That will be October 7th. So we had our first one at the beginning of this month, and it was amazing. Had a great crew with me. Did an amazing job talking about wokeness. Loved it. Either looking at having some of the same folks on or a completely different group of folks on. Either way, it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. I had so much fun. I was a little nervous, if you could tell, but I had so much fun doing that. October 7th is the first Monday in October. We will be doing the live stream again then, and I hope you'll be back for that. All the information on that will be on the socials, specifically this guy right here. I've been on here pretty much the most. If you'll notice, I added a couple and kind of reorganized a little bit here, but this guy right here is where you'll find me the most. Links to all my socials are going to be down in the show notes below. So if you want to find me on your favorite, I'm probably there. And I've got a link down there that's going to take you directly to me. With all that said, guys, that is the show for today. Remember that we do have our Friday shows at 10 a.m. Usually, this will be the last one again for 2 weeks. And then we take the individual segments, cut them up, throw them out throughout the week. So you got a little something to go around. I will be doing more reactions and reviews. Those will be coming out to kind of fill in the blanks here and there. And especially over the next 2 weeks, I will be front loading that very heavy with some reviews and reactions for you guys. Those seem to go over really, really well. And you guys seem to like those. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, follow, all that good fun stuff. Tell a friend about it. Tell an enemy about it. Doesn't really matter. Just get the word out that they need to watch this. And guys, again, I appreciate you so much. Please come back in 2 weeks when I'm back with the full show. I'll be having a full tank of gas, ready to rock and roll, and ready to bring you the absolute best. Until then, y'all have a good one.
I also watch the Discovery Channel. Do you watch it? You know what I've discovered? I need a girlfriend. That's what I've discovered. Once you've watched everything on the planet have sex, I think it's your turn. Bugs, rocks, plants, everything's getting laid. Like that young boy said in the Bible. Yes, even the dust mite. That's right, it lives in your eyebrow. Things are having sex on you while you're not having sex.